If you're new to consulting or maybe starting your own consulting business, there's something that you've really got to know, really got to have a handle on, and that is who your market, who your ideal clients, and what do they want. And that's what we're talking about this week. So doesn't that sound a little bit obvious that you've got to know your market and know your clients if you're going to start a consulting business? Well, I know it does sound obvious, but many people get it wrong. And how do they get it wrong? Well, they maybe take a shotgun approach and they're trying to reach a very broad market. They're not really niching down or niching down if you're in North America. Maybe they're trying to service all kinds of people that are really not suited to be their clients. And what happens is that you can waste a lot of time and effort kind of just getting out there and trying to appeal to everybody, which is a waste of time. You need to have a very clear understanding of who your ideal customer is. Now, there's a term, it's not new, there's a term for this, it's called your customer avatar. I don't know whether it came out at the time of the movie, but it's something that we've been using for years in our businesses, and I thought I would just step you through it if you haven't come across that. So the idea is, if you can kind of form this mental picture of your ideal customer, your ideal client, it's going to help you target them with the right services, the right offers, and so on. So what do I mean by that? What is a customer avatar? It's a very detailed description. So let me step you through the process, and I've got one here from one of my consulting businesses that I'll share with you. So you kick off with a bit of a profile. So think now, if you're running a consulting business now, or you're thinking of starting one, think of who your perfect client is going to be. So for example, in one of my businesses, it's George. George is aged 40. He's a middle to senior executive in a top 500 company. He's very smart. He's got an IQ of 125. He's got a master's degree, probably an MBA. He's confident, well respected and liked, ambitious, and he's married with 2 kids at private school. Why is that important? Because when I'm communicating in our marketing materials to our ideal client, in this case George, I need to be using the right language and the right sort of information to reach George. It's got to be targeted, not shotgun. The next step then is, so you got that profile, the next step is to think very carefully, and I think Dan Kennedy came up with this first of all, but think about your potential clients' wants, fears, frustrations, and desires. It's not about what you want to sell them, it's about what they feel they need. What do they want? What do they fear? What are they frustrated about? And what are their desires? So coming back to George. George wants to be seen as successful. He wants recognition from his peers and his boss, but he's pushed with lack of time. He's got lack of resources and staff, lack of business support. He's well educated, but he recognises he's got some skill gaps. He wants to make it big in the current business. He's a little bit worried about not achieving his business targets. And he loves his family and friends, but he's feeling a little bit guilty that he just doesn't get enough time with them. So you see how we're building up a little bit of a picture now, so that when you're putting together your marketing material, you can start to write things for George, or putting your videos together for George. They're going to resonate with George if that's your target market, if that's your perfect customer. And then you can move on to think about, on the third element, why the Georges are not buying from you. So maybe they don't know that you even exist. Maybe they think you're expensive. Maybe they think you don't know their industry well enough. There could be a whole raft of things. But until you go through that exercise of putting that ideal customer avatar together, you never really know who you're trying to target. So remember, there's those 3 steps. The profile, I've got profiles, all different profiles for my different businesses. So this one was George. What are their wants, fears, frustrations, desires? And remember, your clients, your customers will buy what they want, not what you think they need, okay? So you've got to position things correctly. And then think about why they're not buying from you. So the customer avatar is really, really useful. Let me give you a little bit of a story to illustrate that. I swear to you, this is an absolutely true story from a number of years ago. So in one of our consulting businesses, I had a client fly interstate to come and have a chat with us and talk about a potential project. We got on really well straight away. And I'm not going to go into sales techniques right now, but let's just say that sitting in front of me was George. He was the perfect customer. And so we listened to what George needed. We suggested some solutions that we could help them with. So this particular business provided sort of custom management consulting solutions. So it wasn't programs or anything like that. And then we started to kind of whiteboard how we might address this. And George was looking at his watch, sort of, I've got to get a flight back soon. You know, it doesn't matter. I'll delay the flight. I'll get a later one. And we spent about 3 hours, I think, going through the issues in his business and how we might solve them. And then finally, I can't remember if it was me or George that mentioned it. Probably he said, what's the sort of cost for this sort of project? And I said, well, you know, it can get pretty expensive. And he said, well, look, I've got a budget of 400,000. And I said, it's going to be under that, George. So it's probably 300,000. And I said, that's good. And how long will it take? I said, well, we're pretty busy at the moment. He said, well, look, I need it done in 3 months. I said, we can't even get started for a month, George, and it's probably going to take 4 months to do it. So, you know, that's going to be a problem with your time frame. And anyway, the reason I'm telling this story is that at the end of the meeting, George turned to me and said, I've got to talk to procurement and we've got to get 3 quotes for this work, unfortunately. But don't worry, I'll make it happen. I want you guys to work with us. And we did for many years. So all of that came about because we understood what George's needs were. We were able to discuss how we could provide the solutions for him. We built the rapport. The relationship was really good. And it was just natural then for George to pick us to do the work. So understanding your client avatar is all part of that. And understanding, you know, what makes them tick. What are their fears, frustrations, desires, wants, all of those things. So it's well worth going through that exercise. Remember that the customer avatar, if you look online, there's probably loads and loads of guides as to how to do a customer avatar. So I hope that was of interest to you, of value to you. If you want any more information on this, why not go over and have a look at the Consulting Business School blog. There's loads of stuff on there and there's some free downloads. I'll put a link to that down below, and of course there's loads of other videos on this channel. So if you're just starting out with consulting, best of luck. It can be a lot of fun, although hard work. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next week. Videos, of course, come out every Tuesday evening, Sydney, Australia time. And if you hit the subscribe button and the bell, you'll get notified every time we have a new video coming out. Love to hear your comments down below too. See you next week.